Good morning, honorable members. Sit down.
Correction and approval of records of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting of Tuesday, 14 July 2020.
Thank you, Clerk. Honorable members, the records of votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 14th July 2020 is before us for correction and approval. Can any honorable member please move a motion for correction and approval of the said records of votes and proceedings? Honorable member for Jimara.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise to move that the record of vote and proceeding of the National Assembly sitting of Tuesday, 14 July 2020 be corrected and approved.
Any seconder? Any seconder? Honorable member for Sami. Sorry, Nyani rather, Nyani.
Thank you. I rise for second the motion.
Honorable members, it has moved and seconded that the records of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting of Tuesday, 14th July 2020 be approved. Any issue observations from any honorable member? Honorable members, we start with page 2 of the votes, records of votes and proceedings, page 2. Any observation by any honorable member? Correction? Jara East, yes, Jara East.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. The cover page, where you have second ordinary session, if you turn the rest of the pages, you have first ordinary session, so they are not speaking the same language. Thank you.
Any order? Noted. We go to page 2. Page 2, please. Page 3, rather. Honorable member for Woodley East.
Thank you. Honorable Sunkari Baji was here yesterday, and Honorable Sheikh Bajaj, they were all here. But in this page, they are absent.
Jimara? That's okay. Honorable Lower Fuladu?
Thank you. If the following National Assembly members were absent with permission, members and where?
Any other correction? We move to page 4. Page 4, honorable member for Sabah Sanjal? Oh, Nyani Jarada, Nyani. Nyani Jarada.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Laying of papers and report. Roman 1, if you look at the report, it was supposed to be led by Honorable Mamadou Elkes and a chairperson, very clear. And now, if you look at the preceding sentence, or state paragraph, that the Honorable Deputy Speaker delegated the member for Upper Floodways. I think for consistency purpose, it should be like how it is captured there. Honorable Mamadou El Kesane, chairperson of the committee, delegated the member for Upper Flood West instead of mentioning these two different things. Thank you very much.
Woodley East.
Immediately, let's say question put and agreed to. Third paragraph, second line. We've made several amendments, not just one. So the amendments would have an S, amendments. You've seen it.
Noted. Honorable member for Upper Fuladu West. Upper Fuladu, please.
It's Lower Fladu.
Lower Fuladu.
Yes, my doubt has been cleared.
Any other intervention? Go to page 5. Page 5, Nyanija.
Yeah, just a simple thing. My name is spelled wrongly among the members who took the floor and spoke on the report. If you check my name, can you please check? That's number 6.
Noted. Any other? Nyani.
Number 10, the spelling E is added again.
Any other? Honorable member for Jara East.
Thank you. Page 5, immediately after the names of members that participated in the debate, at this juncture, the Honorable Speaker called on the mover of the report to respond to issues raised and wind up the debate. It will be wound up, W-O-U-N-D. Thank you.
Yeah, this one is correct.
This one is correct.
The one up should be the next one. This one is correct.
Yeah. Are you?
The first one is correct.
The first one you're referring to, or the second one, honorable member?
The first one is correct.
The first one I understand is correct.
No, I'm referring to the first one.
The first one? Yeah.
It's good.
Yes, honorable member for Woodley West.
No, if you read the sentence, it is correct as it is. It is, at this juncture, the Honorable Speaker called on the mover of the motion to respond. The same to is to wind up.
Thank you very much. Honorable member is correct. We move to page 6. Any correction, any observation? On page 6, you move to page 7 if there is none. Page 6? Yes, honorable member for Jara East.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Page 6, where you have the report was unanimously adopted. It should be with amendments, because I made some corrections with regards to the report that was presented here, with amendments. Page 6, where you have the report was unanimously adopted, page 6. Just a second. Third paragraph.
Page 6.
Where we have those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. The next one, the report was unanimously adopted with amendments.
Okay, noted.
Thank you.
Lower Fuladu, page 10 or 7. Okay.
Question put and agreed to, paragraph 3. The debate on the report was adjourned and the spelling of D there is wrong. And if you come down, motion to sit beyond 6, the first paragraph, standing order 11.1, the honorable member for Lower Nyumi moved that the assembly sit beyond 6. S should be omitted out. Thank you.
Noted. Any other? Page 8. Page 6. Yes, page 7. Honorable member for Yara Central.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
On the same line where the rectification was made by Honorable Member for Upper Fuladu West. Question put and agreed to. The third paragraph. The debate on the report was adjourned and the committee was granted approval. There was no was there. Was left out. The debate on the report was adjourned and the committee was granted approval to conduct parliamentary hearing to further probe into the Semelex issue. There should be the word was to be added.
Honorable member, understand the force was will survive. But Honorable member for Woodley East, on what page? On page 7 or?
Page 7.
Yes.
Yes, question put and agreed to. Honorable Speaker, I think the permission we give to the committee is to conduct parliamentary hearings. Is it just one hearing? I think it's hearings. Is it not safe to say hearings instead of just leaving us to one?
Okay, noted. We move to page 8 now. Page 7. Yes, what is your observation on page 7, Honorable Member?
Page 7, the member for Upper Salon invoked clause 53C. And clause 53C talks about motion without notice. I think it should be indicated. Thank you.
Noted. Page 8. Honorable Member for Jara Central, page 8.
Yes, Honorable Speaker. The first paragraph there, the second line, sorry, the third line, inform the Assembly that the consideration stage on the said bill, the word bill is omitted, would be continued from where it was stopped. Oh, okay, yes, page 9, sir.
Oh, you're referring to page 9?
Yeah, that is page 9, yes.
Okay.
Page 9. Yes.
Noted. Any other observation on page 9? Page 8. Okay, page 8. Jara East.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Page 8, at the bottom where you have the results of
your mic, please.
Sorry. Where you have the results of the votes were declared by the Honorable Speaker as follows. It should be their votes as opposed to vote. Thank you.
Is correct, Honorable Member. Noted. Honorable Member for Woodley East.
Page 9. Yes.
Woodley East.
Yes. Under the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, the last line, where it was saying it was top page instead of stop page, it was stopped. You've seen that?
Yeah.
Yes. In addition to his correction. Yeah. What?
Noted. Page 10. Page 9. Lower Fuladu. Page 9.
10.
Member for Sane Mentreng, page 9.
Yes. At the first paragraph where you have the assembly that consideration stage on the said bill is missing. The said bill would be continued.
Yeah, that has been corrected, Honorable Member.
Okay.
We move to page. Honorable Member Jara, what's your on which page? Yes, on page 9. Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Page 9, after access to information bill, 2019, the Honorable Speaker reminded the Assembly that the consultation stage on the Access Information Bill 2019 was started on Tuesday, 7th July 2020 and suspended. Therefore, he informed the Assembly that the consultation stage on the said bill would be continued from where it was stopped, as opposed to stoppage at the time of suspension.
Yeah, that one has been corrected.
Okay, another one, I'm not done. If you go further again, where you have consideration stage, the Assembly resolved in the Committee of the Whole House to consider the Access to Information Bill 2019 clause by clause with specific regards to standing orders 70 and 71. Thank you.
Honorable member, we go to page 10 now.
Same paragraph still, Madam, Honorable Speaker, where the Honorable Member for Jala is suggesting a correction with regard, not regards, with specific regard to orders, standing orders.
Point of order. Your mic, please.
Excuse me. I'm rising on clause 26.2 for the member to rise while addressing the speaker.
Honorable member, senior.
Okay, I'm sorry, Honorable Speaker. The same paragraph where he was suggesting a correction, standing orders, but before that, with specific regard, not regards, with specific regard to.
Thank you. Noted. Page 10. Lower Fuladu.
Yes, page 10, clause 22 was amended to replace the whole title, not the whole the title, with the words fee and cost.
Thank you. Honorable member for Woodley East. Noted.
Yes, where he is correcting clause 22, the spelling of title is not T-I-T-T, it's just T-I-T-L. And then when you come to clause 26 also, the spelling of title.
Thank you. Noted. Page 11. Yes, Honorable Member Jara East.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Page 11, where you have new clause 2, at least 2 of the commissioners shall be females as opposed to female. Thank you.
That is correct, Honorable Member. Honorable Member for Woodley East.
In page 13, clause 33. Honorable, check.
He said page 11, we are on page 11. Honorable
Yes,
Member.
page 11, clause 33 was amended. And the word "and" immediately. So we say it's either immediately before the word consideration or after the word consideration. So you have to check that. You've seen it. You see it, Honorable.
It's the word and.
No, which one?
Inserted.
You know, they need a correction there.
Inserted.
It should be inserted. Inserted immediately.
Clause
Yeah.
33, check.
Clause
It's after,
Clause 33.
It should be after.
Inserted.
Inserted.
After the word consideration with the comma. Then when you come to clause 38, clause 38 was, instead of as amended, you remove the as.
But on clause 33, it has been amended, inserted here. Inserted, immediately, inserted. That one has been corrected here. Now we go to page...
No, I'm saying, if you go to clause 38, down.
Oh, 38.
Check clause 38.
Yes, 38.
You know, there is a was there. Then after the was, they have as. Then we remove the as. And when you go to the end of the sentence, there is a replace. It should be replaced. There should be an ED there. You've seen it?
Yes. Noted. Honorable Member for Jumara on page 11 or page 12? Then we move to page 12. Jumara?
The first paragraph, the Honorable Member for Banjul South, I think it should be Honorable Member, not Honorable Members.
Yeah. That's the end. It has been moved and seconded that records of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting of Tuesday, 14th July 2020 be approved. Any issue with amendments? With amendment, eh? Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. Clerk, can we proceed?
Questions for oral answer. Standing Order 36 and 41. The Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs.
Honorable members, as usual, today is the question for oral answers. In accordance with Standing Order 41, 1 in bracket, furthermore, I wish to remind the Assembly that the Standing Order 43 limits to supplementary questions to 7 in total, 2 for the Honorable Member asking question and 5 for other Honorable Members. On that note, I will now proceed with the Honorable Minister scheduled for today to give oral answers. I thank you all. We may proceed, Clerk. Honorable members, thank you. Questions for which a due notice was given to the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs by honorable members for oral reply. Question number 204, 2019, by Honorable Member for Bakau. Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, can the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs inform this August Assembly about the government's preparedness and position to the much talked about West Africa single monetary duped the ECO? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Honorable Speaker, members of the National Assembly. The government of the Gambia is still committed to the ECOWAS single currency and as part of the set macroeconomic convergence criteria to assess performance. The Gambia continues to meet 3 of the 4 primary convergence: inflation, central bank financing of the budget, and gross reserves, and 1 of the 2 secondary convergence exchange rate variation since 2017. However, Gambia is missing the budget deficit under the primary convergence criteria and the debt to GDP ratio under the secondary convergence criteria. Yet this has placed the Gambia among the best performing countries towards the regional integration process of the single currency. Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Member for Bakau.
Honorable Minister.
Honorable Minister, do you finish?
I just wanted to confirm and clarify that we promised to submit additional information to the clerk, and we did since 9th of July regarding these questions.
Honorable Member for Bakau, any supplementary?
Yes, please. Honorable Minister, what will be the Gambia's advantage or interest of being part of the said currency?
I think one of the advantages that we have in this country is that our transaction costs, bureaucracy, most of it compared to our region neighbors, we do perform better. And that we believe that when it comes to trade, we are like our export trade. Majority of our imports do go to the region. So I think being a member in this group will give us a lot of advantages, and that as a small country with very limited resources, we believe that it has a lot of advantage in our benefit to be able to perform much better. And again, the transaction cost, their bureaucracy, ways of doing business in the Gambia is much, much better than some of our neighbors.
Honorable Member for Bakau, any other supplementary?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Honorable Member for Brikama South.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. The Honorable Minister, once this accord comes into effect, I think it is going to be promoting internal trade within member states. How prepared are we as a state to protect our local industry so as to have that impact on our economy?
I think we are prepared in the sense that in terms of, again, I come back to the transaction cost, but here our own industries will have to be very competitive. Here we are not talking about protectionism anymore. It is now the public-private sector coming together to make sure whatever we do, we are cheaper and more effective and more efficient. And that is the policy direction that government is working towards. That's the main reason why we have now the public-private partnership. And I will be coming back to this August Assembly to make sure that the local content aspect is also presented in order to be able to protect our own local, especially the infant industry.
Serakunda West, Honorable Member.
Honorable Speaker, could the Honorable Minister tell us the rationale behind printing new notes when we are already committed to the single currency?
That's a monetary policy question. I think that one is an operational matter. It's not a policy direction, and that the Governor Central Bank will have to answer that. One thing that I know, that regardless of whatever we are going into, when we have dilapidated notes that are non-circulable, I think the central bank has a responsibility to make sure that we will print the new notes in order to replace the old notes. Does that answer your question?
I don't mean replacing notes. Recently, we've seen the government of the Gambia print new denominations.
That's what I'm saying. Now, when we talk about the ECHO, it's just some, we cannot wait to make sure our own internal issues are not being addressed. We cannot wait up to today. We cannot guarantee the date of commencement. So whatever we need to do in order to make sure we settle our own internal issues, we have to. That one is something that the central bank governor and the board, together with his management, do. They have to take care of that.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Serakunda.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, would the Honorable Minister inform the Assembly of the linkage between a currency, that is monetary union, with the whole economic system which must be linked to the creation of a West African Central Bank, West African Monetary Fund, and Investment Bank to be able to facilitate sub-regional trade to the advantage of all states. Wouldn't it not be a disadvantage just to talk about economic union, talk about monetary union without linking it to these developments that I've mentioned?
This is something that there must be sequence. We have to start from somewhere, and then we have to move to the other areas that needs to be linked. There is a natural linkage wherever you start, and that's the departure point. When you have that union, we already have another union, that's the UMOA, and we've seen what is happening, but that doesn't mean that we are going to replicate exactly. We have our own sets of policy direction. Here, what we are going to do is policy harmonization between the UMOA and the West African Monetary Zone. That's the Anglophone and Francophone. So when we talk about the effects and the impact, most of it are based on certain underlying assumptions that this is what we intend to do. And these assumptions that as we go into the reality, they are all fine-tuned, they are all adjustable. But it doesn't mean that we will have the policies that are there to make sure that the order in which, based on informed decisions, that the information that we have based on research and the facts, that as it starts, then we'll be able to see and know exactly the other issues that will be linked to the monetary union. We cannot be myopic, just talk about monetary union, but that's the departure point. As we go further, then we'll be able to make sure we'll set it up. But it is not something that can be done overnight.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Woodley East.
Thank you very much. Would the Minister inform the Assembly which other two countries have performed better and met the convergence criteria to warrant us to set up or establish the ECO, the currency?
I think every year there is an evaluation done, independent, and that's what I have reported. And the information that I have submitted to the clerk on the 9th, there is a note there saying that please note that most important convergence criteria is the primary convergence, with the Gambia meeting 3 out of 4, similar to Nigeria as at end December 2019. It is us and Nigeria. That's what we say, second best. And then the secondary convergence criteria, on the other hand, carries a moderate weight in the macroeconomic convergence matrix. And I have attached the information as an annex to this report. So that's why we said us and Nigeria. When we say second best, it doesn't mean that there is one first or second. No, that's why I say we are second best performing countries. It's based on the independent evaluation. And that report I have also submitted to the clerk, full detailed report highlighting all the issues and how the evaluation was done.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Woodley West. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, historically, the approach was to create a second monetary zone in addition to the safer zone. Has that approach been changed now? Because the plan was to have a second monetary zone and then eventually merge the two together. But it seems that has it changed?
No, it hasn't changed. I think up to today, as far as we are concerned, we are still on the same modus operandi, and the ECO belongs to the entire 15 countries. It doesn't belong to EUMA, and we are very strong with that, and we have repeatedly said that the ECO cannot go to one. There was a declaration made by EUMA, and we have registered in a strongest voice that is unacceptable, and the road to ECO should be one, and we still maintain it didn't change, and it will not change.
Thank Thank you. Honorable Member for Lower Badibu. Honorable Member for Lower Badibu, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we are dealing with a very serious issue here. That is the fiscal policy and the monetary policy of the state. I would like to ask the Honorable Minister to inform us whether they have done any feasibility studies in terms of monetary policy of the countries that we want to engage into this single currency issue.
Yes, every country will have to do their own analysis, and we did our analysis, and this has been going for almost a decade, and that we have already taken the position that it is in our advantage to be a member of this monetary union. It is our advantage, and we did our own analysis.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Question number 205, 2019, by the Honorable Member for Kiang West.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Can the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs give this August Assembly the total grants received as pledges for the implementation of the National Development Plan, giving a breakdown of the amount as at now? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, the implementation of the National Development Plan is progressing, and so far a total of $199.57 million has been disbursed towards the implementation of the NDP, representing a 12% disbursement rate of the pledge amount. Below, we have the table and the contributing countries that, that pledge. They are Belgium, France, Italy, that's UNICEF, Japan, Korea, Malta, Qatar, Turkey, UAE, United Kingdom, USA, AFDB, Badia, EU Investment Bank, ISDB, OFIT, World Bank, WTO, ITC, and the UN Peace Building Fund. So far, what we have as in, because there's a portion of the loans and the grants. And the grants that we have so far from France is 5.880 million. Honorable Speaker, do I have to go through the table because it's already there, or let me just go through the table? Huh? It's there. So the table is there, and giving you, if you have supplementary, then we can go. But the entire information is right there.
Speaker, I want the Minister to explain to us, because this is too technical.
Oh, okay, okay.
The Honorable Member, or you are not asking supplementary? Yes, what?
I want him to explain this table clearly to us.
Clearly?
Yeah.
Yes. Honorable Minister, do you have the copy of this table?
It is here.
Oh.
Yeah. But already the table over there. If I now may understand, let him ask a question, then the minister.
Yeah. Honorable Member, the table has been circulated.
It is already here.
The table has been circulated. If you don't, what you don't understand, please come up with a supplementary question on in the table, please.
May I, Honorable Speaker?
Honorable Speaker, seriously, I want him to explain further. Yes, because this table, they are not financial oriented. Briefly, let me explain to us clearly, briefly.
Now, what portion do you want the minister to explain to you on that table, please?
The loan aspect and the grant aspect. The loan and grant aspect. Yes.
Maybe if Honorable Speaker, I want to make sure that he understands fully. If I stand here and just run through it, maybe it will be still a problem. I want to suggest to have one-on-one with him and any other member so that we can go slowly to make sure you absorb exactly. That's a suggestion.
Accepted.
Okay, thank you.
I should ask any other supplementary from you? Honorable Member for Kiang West? No supplementary?
It's okay.
Honorable Member for Bakau, supplementary.
Yes. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, according to what I understand from your answer, the question is not being answered. I mean, the question is asking for the total grant received as pledges. The total grant that are being pledged. The answer is not being given.
Is the total.
Okay, thank you.
Honorable Member for Serakunda, please.
Honorable Minister, it seems that the 199 million comprises loans and grants, or just the grant element? And if
both.
Both. Yeah.
Both.
So, in that sense, Honorable Speaker, would you explain what the implication is regarding the targets that you had and the current 12% that is available? Looking forward, what do you see as the key challenge to the plan itself?
I think what we are confronted and faced with is some of it are blended, loans and grants. So the whole strategy is to delink. My priority is make sure I have the grants as a priority, front load. If you look at exactly the actuals for the 199, the grant element so far disbursed is 163,603,449, as opposed to the loans only 35. It's a deliberate policy from our side, given the fact that our debt GDP ratio is very high. And what we've insisted, even if we delink it, that loan, we want to make sure minimum threshold is 50% grant. Going forward, we want to ensure that the decision at the operation level is taken by us. Not that the donor is coming to tell us exactly. We know where our deficits are sectorally, and that's where we are convincing them to make sure that those social sectors that need the attention most, especially when we talk about COVID and post-COVID. As we prepare to go to the next frontier, what we are saying is the reprioritization of the National Development Plan, where health is now on top of both infrastructure and energy. These are the issues that we are confronted. So going forward, we hope and are working very hard to make sure that the funds that are coming now, health will be given the priority, but not at the expense of the other social sectors. But health so far, that's where we are focusing on.
For Opanyomi, supplementary.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Honorable Minister, when you added the total NDP pledge, that's the grant and loan, is given here you $1,631,160 US. But like what flabbergasts me here is total committed to date. The grant and the loan component will give you $982 million US, 920. I don't know why the variation. Like when you compute it, you don't put it there, but I just add it myself to arrive at this figure. And what I want to ask you is, why this variation from the total committed, the total NDP pledge, and the total committed to date? Why the variation from 1 billion to 82 million US dollars. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to explain to you the standard operating procedure when you go for these donor conferences. Most representations will come there with the understanding that they have to wait for the presentation. After the presentation, that's where the pledges will come. They will, if they are at the senior level, they will make the decision there that this is what we pledge. But that pledge is subject to their own parliamentary cabinet and other institutional approval. Then when they go back, it's either increase or decrease. Then they will have to come back to you that I pledge 1 million, but my National Assembly is saying I should go for 1.5. Other National Assembly will look at their budget and say that no, we will have to go only 500,000 instead of 1 billion. So these are the variations that as it comes, and even beyond that, they will come back, it is committed. But what is actually delivered is another thing. This is why the slow disbursements rate, and that also the receiving countries. In the past, what happened was that whatever it is, we will accept it. But we have changed the ways that we do business now, that just because you are coming in, it is not for you to determine the sector. We have our national development plan, and it is based on that. You will have to make your pledge, and you cannot go anything outside there. If you go outside the preferred sector that we want you to invest, we will negotiate. But this $1.56 billion, remember, almost 50% of it are all loans. And we are doing everything possible, really, to shy away from the loan component. That's why we are saying we are giving more preference to pledges that are grants. Not only that, we were also requesting to be front-loaded. These are the variations that, from the pledge to commitment to actual disbursement, it's 3 stages. So everything changes during that period. What we are doing now is to make sure that whatever we are doing, we have now recruited as a consultant to make sure the consultant is going to be 100% focused on this mobilization.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Talending, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, below this summary table for the pledge, list of institutions were not captured. And I don't know whether the ones that are captured are already in hand, the pledges, and why some of these institutions were not captured.
I think the summary table, everything that you see there, these are the ones that came, that attended the conference and made their pledge. This is the total. We did not have anything outside there. Only if you are asking for the sector, are you asking for the sector or the... No, we did not put that because it's all based on the negotiations. We can provide that later, but it is over time because all of these things sometimes they change. So we avoid putting it there and all of a sudden it changes. As example, we were talking about the National Development Plan. Now the Gambia's priority has changed, has shifted because of COVID. Now we're talking about health. So as they come in, we'll tell them that yes, you've pledged this amount for roads, but we feel that we should build more hospitals, we should refurbish our clinics, we should give more energy solar to hospitals, schools, and other different sectors. It changes.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member for Woodley East, supplementary.
Honorable Speaker, part of my question is answered, but my question is the grants committed is 511,920,000, and then the disbursed is 163. I see it is very wide. So my question is, what is the actual cause of the delay? Is it that the Gambia is slow in sending our project proposals to those who are making the pledges? Or is it those who actually did the commitment are the ones changing their positions relating to the commitments?
No, we are not slow to actually make the request, because immediately after the pledging session, we did make the request, and that everything is based on our plan. Most of the time it's at the donor end. They also have their own issues. Sometimes they will go and realize that the spread, that the amount of money that is supposed to be disbursed based on their own internal procedure. Most of the time, that's where the delay is. Now we are trying to take a more aggressive move to make sure that, especially the grants, that's why I said, not only we want the grants, but we want it to be front-loaded.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member for Bundunkakunda.
My concern has just been addressed. Thank you.
Okay. Any other member? Honorable Member for Upper Fuladu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Mr. Speaker, can the Honorable Minister further explain to us? Consultants were hired, experts engaged to come together and form this National Development Plan to last 3 years, between 2018 and 2021. Together, they identified strategic priorities, critical enablers, where they believe that after 3 years, we will be able to accomplish a certain goal in terms of employment, especially for the youths, in terms of private sector being the engine of economic growth. Can you further explain to us, is this vision realistic, given that we've only got 1 year left in this plan, to see to it that those goals, those visions are realized and materialized?
Thank you. A plan is a plan, and everything that you see in that plan is based on certain underlying assumptions. Yes, it is realistic. There is a midterm review that is supposed to kick off, and in addition to that, we are also looking at post-NDP. It has to be linked. It is realistic, and nothing has changed as far as we are concerned, but the midterm review, doing a SWOT analysis, will help us look at our weaknesses. So in the post-program, the new program coming in, those weaknesses will be addressed.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Question number 206, 2019, by the Deputy Speaker of the Deputy Speaker. I delegated Honorable Lamin J. Sane to read my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, can the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs inform this August Assembly the state of debt owned by the following institutions to the Social Security, Housing, Finance, and Corporation? That is the GGC, GCAA, GGC, GIA, GPA, NAWEC, GAMTEL, GRTS, and the Government of the Gambia.
Thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, I wish to inform the Deputy Speaker that the state of debt owed by the following institutions to the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation as at end May 2019 are here listed below. An internal audit exercise was conducted to ascertain the level of cross-indebtedness within the SOE sector, and the report below details out what was owed to Social Security by some members of the institutions mentioned. The table is there, Honorable Speaker, in front of the National Assembly members. So if they have any questions, or do I have to go through the table? I just want to make one clarification that the study that the internal auditor did, we have it here, and normally it's an annual thing. The last one they did was as at end May, but it was submitted in August 2019. They're about to conduct another study. This is just to verify that the sectors that do have non-performing loans, what happened, and the commitment that was made. Again, just to preempt some of the questions, the Ministry of Finance has been the arbitrator in terms of linking the sectors, and the Social Security, just to make sure. Out of example, the $892 million that NAWEC owed, because there are different types of loans, government has now taken, knowing the inability of NAWEC not to pay, knowing that up to today, the tariff that we have is not the real tariff, is still being subsidized. We felt that it is our responsibility to take off that amount, and that what we will be doing, because it was not factored in the 2020 budget, we are about to sign with NAWEC so that government will take responsibility of that amount. Those are the non-performing loans, and you have the performing loans that both the GPA and GAMTEL they have been paying, and that it is now the responsibility of the internal audit to come back to do the exercise again, just to confirm the actual figures. We just don't want to take figure from the sector, from the institution, and put it here. We want to make sure the internal auditors will do the cross-verification and give us the detail. I have the last report here, and we don't really mind to share it with the House. We can forward a copy to the clerk.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Supplementary question, Honorable Member for Brikama South.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, the outstanding balances here are shown in the table. You have NAWEC about 64,000 balance, GPA about 22,000, and GAMCEL about 94,000. Do we have a specific time bound whether this will be recovered? Since this one is prepared, this report is prepared on May 2019, and from 2019 is almost a year now. Are you aware whether something has been recovered from this, or do we have a time bound to be able to get all these things so that Social Security also can be on top of its development agendas?
Thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, whether we have a time bound, it depends on the payment plan, what they have signed. And so far, it has reduced. If you look at the ones, both the NAWEC, the GPA, and the GAMTEL, it's been going down. We don't have a time bound based on the payment plan. When we come back, really to put them together, to ask them, that's where the Ministry of Finance will take certain firm decisions. Example, we can say that, how come you did not pay this amount? The amount that the ministry or the government was supposed to give you, that's where we can take those decisions a little bit harsh to say that now that amount will now be disposed to Social Security instead of giving you that amount that is supposed to. Maybe it's a subvention, maybe if it is NAWEC, amount owed on the consumption of electricity. These are the things that we do. With the other sectors, we just have to be careful in the sense that sometimes, like the GCAA, it depends on the aircraft landing, the number of passengers that are coming down. So if it's a seasonal thing, sometimes they are confronted with a situation where it is government that has actually contributed to some of their problems. It's not all, most of them, it's not all their own problems. This is why we have to take the responsibility to make sure that once those things are out, we know exactly where governments really undermine the performance of this institution. That the rest, if it was something that has been taken directly by the institution with the Social Security, we will tell them that next time you have to be careful in your evaluation. That is why we have now placed an embargo on all these cross-institutional debts. Before you take it, it must be justified, and we will be there to make sure that the cash flow of the institutions will be able to accommodate that. It's no more the old ways of doing things where you just want the loan, maybe for consumption. We're saying if it is an investment that will provide returns in the future, those are the loans that we will encourage.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Upper Salem, the floor is yours. Supplementary. Oh. Okay. Your second supplementary. Honorable Member for Brikama South, your second supplementary.
Thank you. Honorable Speaker, since according to your explanation, government is in certain circumstances, government is creating this burden on the SOEs. Within your strategy, do you have a clear-cut strategy that will be geared towards the full independence of these SOEs so as to avoid these type of problems?
Yeah, we believe the answer to that is the performance contract. Once we have the performance contract with you, you have the targets, of which right now we have signed one with NAWEC, that we have no right to come and interfere. Because whatever it is, that performance criteria is set, and government interference there is zero. So when we have to come to you, then we are bridging that contract. That's the whole thing. We make sure that once this performance contract is there, government cannot intervene. We cannot intervene.
Honorable Member for Upper Salem, supplementary.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, would the Honorable Minister inform this Assembly why is it that the central government is not taking the lead in paying up Social Security? Because in his own words, he has underscored that this could actually undermine the performance of these institutions. So why are you not taking the lead in paying up? Because really 421 million is really significant, and as a contributor, I want this money paid.
Thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, I'll take the honorable member's word for that. The next budget I am looking for, because I cannot pay them without you giving me the approval. Okay.
Honorable Member for Ilyas, a supplementary.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, if you go through this table and compare the other one, the GOTE was not mentioned, and I told us that the GOTE was about 577,000 from Social Security, but here it was not mentioned in this other table. Can you explain it?
Are we going back to the past? Because that's the only table we...
Oh, hold on. What I'm saying, then, listen to me. According to this table...
The correct table?
I'm on the present table.
Yes, I mean whether that's the correct table.
Yeah, that's the correct table.
Okay.
If you go through, GOTG was not mentioned. The amount of money owing Social Security was not mentioned in this table. And on his previous table, according to him, they have owing almost about 429,577,000. But here it's not mentioned here. Do you understand me?
It's the last one.
I am asking the Finance Minister to answer the question.
Okay.
I am asking my question, please.
Okay, Honorable Minister, you can answer, please.
No, it's the last column. 400, and that's the non-performing. It's the last. It's a government. After total SOEs. Did you see? Okay.
Mic off. Honorable Member for Lower Fuladu West.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, would the Honorable Minister further elaborate on non-performing loans? What does he mean by non-performing loans and performing loans? Thank you.
The non-performing loans mean that they have not been paid. The performing loans, up to the time the report was prepared. But I hope that with the new report that the internal audit will do, hopefully they will be performing, because we have been monitoring. What we avoid to make any statements here, The performing ones that you see, they've been paying. It is probably possible that some of them are already out, but we base on the report that is the one that is validated, authenticated, and confirmed. But so far, these are the non-performing. They have not been paying at the time this report was prepared. We're hoping that this new year, by August or so, they will prepare another one that we will see more performing loans.
Honorable members, let me remind you, supplementary questions, clause 43, you are allowed to pose your supplementary question within 1 minute, and the Honorable Minister supposed to answer within 2 minutes. I'm just reminding you. Thank you. Fatou West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, every time, the money we're talking about here, Social Security money, is the pensioners' money, poor people. Again, whenever there is non-performing on loans from these SOEs, like you said, we, the government, the people, come again and build these SOEs. You mentioned about performance bonds. What other strategies do you have to make sure that these SOEs don't go on and on as a culture of just contracting these loans, depriving the pensioners from their well-deserved retirement packages? But yet again, the government comes back and bail them out, and I think it's to a point, like the financial crisis in 2008, you have to step up and actually address these issues. We cannot have these executives, or whatever you call them, to be actually depriving the poor people from their livelihoods. So what other strategies do you have in place, apart from the performance appraisal?
I think we have already put in place a very clear policy that there's an embargo, actually almost like a ban. Before, there was this direct institutional arrangement between the Social Security and the other institutions. That cannot happen now without the Ministry of Finance as government to come in and look at it. As I said now, if you have to make a request, you'll have to apply. There's a process now, and that makes it difficult for them to go directly. And wherever it is coming from, it is now the responsibility of Social Security to make sure that the proper procedure is followed. They are under the jurisdiction of the Finance Ministry. They will have to consult us. We are also a member of the body, permanent secretary, to ensure that monies cannot just come out from Social Security like any other institution. No, we understand and we know that it is actually the contingent liability of the government to make sure that all these monies, if not paid, government will have to intervene, pay, and also collect from the debtors. That we are making sure that it will not happen again, and so far, we have been successful in maintaining that behavior.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Nyani, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Could the Honorable Minister tell us, as far as these monies are concerned, the non-performance and the performance loans, this money, they don't have interest? If at all they should have interest, so which percentage should they have?
Thank you. They do have interest, and that it depends on the negotiation. That's what the interest will be reflected. We have to look at the loan, the term sheet, but definitely it's not interest-free loan, that I can assure you. We will provide that information later, but it cannot be, because the opportunity for Social Security to invest that money in their own T-bills and other sectors, losing that opportunity and giving it to another sector, it cannot just be free of charge, no.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Woodley East, supplementary.
Yes, thank you. He's almost raised my question, but the question is that the rate of interest that Social Security is accruing from these loans, if you compare that to these T-bills, for example, which one would be greater? Because if they are making more money from this, then it's in the interest of Social Security to continue to give loans to these needy institutions, since they are paying interest.
Again, we don't interfere in that negotiation. It is the responsibility of Social Security Managing Director and senior management to make such decisions. I was a managing director at the Social Security and Housing Finance, and at that time, government hasn't taken a single putut from the corporation, and the alternative investment that I make sure that the returns, especially the pensioners' money, is something that is commercial, something that is well deserved during my period.
Thank you. Honorable Majority Leader and Member for Kombosau.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, talking about the non-performing entities that owed money to Social Security, do you have a surcharge clause in the agreement with these institutions for not paying their loans on time?
I'm sure there is always a penalty if you don't pay. Most of the time, it's interest that is compounded. We have to take a look at it because some of them have been our long standing loans that the interest accrued must be charged. It's not like they have to stop. The interest will have to continue to accrue. It's part of the agreement. It cannot be free. In addition, even anything, there is always a penalty, and that will make sure is definitely at higher rate.
Thank you. Question number 207, 2019, by the Honorable Member for Ilyasa.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, can Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs tell the Assembly the statistical data on rice duty from 2017-2018 and how many money lost in 2019 due to the level wave on rice? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, I wish to inform the Honorable Member for Eliasa that duty collected on rice imports for 2017 amounted to $192.4 million. However, the duty on rice in 2018 was zero rated, and hence there was no payment of duty on rice imports. Wise revenue loss to waiving taxes on the right amount to $305.1 million in 2019.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Ilyasa, any supplementary? Yes, supplementary, Ilyasa.
Okay, thank you. I agree with you because I think this was the way said that the poor farmers are able to buy rice. So now, as far as we are not enjoying this is not reflect on the price of the rice. What do you think now you can do so that this can come back to the poor farmers?
What is the specific?
What I am saying is that as far as we are not enjoying about $305 million, which is a loss now. So now, because this has been done so that the last consumers will be able to buy rice. As far as now you are not enjoying that, do you think this duty can come back to on rice so that you'll be able to, so that the people will be able to enjoy it? That's my question now. We are not enjoying this.
I don't think such a policy decision is a matter of my personal opinion. I think it takes two. In December, I'll be coming back to the National Assembly to present my budget. If the National Assembly is convinced that we need to come back to it, so be it. However, we have to be very careful because it's a liberalized market and there are no price controls. So far, this is the figure that we're presenting. What we have to make sure, as you said, really it is not fair, I can say that we have gone down zero rated and the price is still up there. What can we do? I think we can brainstorm on that between the government and the National Assembly to see, because what we don't want is the most vulnerable to suffer. What can we do to make sure that at least there is price stability, if anything, reduction in price? We know exactly what they have been charging, if there is scarcity or even without scarcity. That is why the liberalization It's good in the sense that the availability, we're hoping that the more people are involved in it, and it's been going up and down. I think recently it has gone a little bit down, especially with the state of emergency. We hope that we can work together with the National Assembly to see what we can do to make sure that the price is affordable.
Honorable Member for Ilyasa, any supplementary? Then thank you. Honorable Member for Bundunga Kunda, supplementary.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, 305.1 million is a huge amount. We realized that there were, after the reduction of this, the lifting of the tax on rice, the levy on tax on rice has been waived. There were other engagements to make sure that the price of the rice come down. But I think there are other hidden costs. That is why still the price of the rice could not come down. If there are, what are you doing to make sure that those hidden charges are removed, or how to deal with them so that the farmer or the vulnerable people will not suffer and the price of the rice will come down? Thank you.
If you can share with me those hidden costs. If you talk about costs that is beyond the control of the Ministry of Finance, that is a problem. We have been talking to the Minister of Trade, who regularly will be consulting, they have been consulting the importers, rice importers, to see what is the issue, why is it going down. And most of them do complain. I hope that one day the Trade Minister will come here and explain in details exactly what are the issues confronting them. But these hidden cost charges that you're talking about, if you can share it with us, I think it will be helpful for us to be able to know exactly what they are.
Like the damages.
Honorable Member, you are entitled to one question, and if you want to go further, you need to stand. Honorable Member for Lower Fuladu West.
Thank you. My question has been addressed.
Thank you. Honorable nominated member Yakumba Jaite.
Honorable Minister, the waiving of taxation of this rice import duty was done here in Parliament. And that is in accordance to the Constitution, that only Parliament can give authority to waive tax. Even if there is an authority that has authority to waive tax, they must come back to Parliament for the authority. Why is the ministry waiving all the taxations apart from rice without coming to Parliament to seek their authority? And on which basis, legal basis, are you relying on? Thank you.
Can you be more specific? Because we have no authority
Have there
to
been
waive
any
any
other
taxes without the National Assembly's approval.
Is the ministry waiving taxation apart from this rice, which is approved by the National Assembly? Have you been waiving tax for other businesses without our approval? Because I've never seen an instance where it came here for an approval.
Point of order.
Honorable Member, I think the question is on rice. The question is on rice, so please direct your supplementary question on rice, not other taxes, please. If
Honorable,
you can
Honorable Speaker, the question is this waiving of taxation on rice was approved by the National Assembly. I'm asking the Minister if they are waiving any other taxation on other items without approval of the National Assembly.
Honorable member is a new element. Please frame your supplementary question on rice, please, if you can. Okay. Member for Woodley West.
Honorable Speaker, the issue of zero rating import duties on rice in 2018 was contentious, even though it was approved here in this parliament. It was approved here, but the reason why we approved of it was never implemented, because it never beat down the price of rice. Why? Why was that the situation? Because you decided not to implement what we decided here. Because the objective of zero rating the import duty was to beat down the price of rice, but it never went down. In other words, we did it to boost up the profit for the business community, those who are importing rice.
Honorable Minister, please.
Thank you. It's kind of contradictory because you're going down and our policy is not price control. That's where the problem is. Yes, we are giving them more profit, right? You are right. But the reason was to go down. That is why continuously the Minister of Trade will call them and tell them that it's a betrayal. We came down to make sure that the most vulnerable will be able to afford the rice. But so far, it didn't happen. That's a fact. But we are not in the price control regime. That's the problem. And I think at that time, really, if you cannot balance it. You cannot say you want to do this and no. I would have never personally submitted that to the National Assembly because it contradicts the liberalized price control regime. I know exactly what you are saying. What can we do? The Trade Ministry has been consulting them, almost threatening them to tell them, if you don't do this, we'll do that. But it's a price, we don't have a price control. It's affecting all of us, and they're making more profit. That's a fact.
Yeah. Honorable member, you are entitled to one supplementary, please.
Thank you, you are generous. Honorable Speaker, the issue of rice was part of a
Honorable
package.
member, Woodley West, you are entitled to one supplementary, please.
Thank you very much.
No observation.
Please.
Honorable.
No.
Honorable Speaker.
No, Honorable Chair, he can. If there are no other interventions, he can.
You can't. Honorable member, you are entitled to one supplementary, and I believe you have asked
Honorable
that.
Minister, the issue of rice was part of a package of your budget. And one of the elements in that package was how is it called again, transport policy, none of which were ever implemented. So you are telling me that you were phoning the Ministry of Trade, but it was your policy. You came here with this proposal in 2018 budget.
Honorable member for Woodley West, it appears that you are breaking our own laws. Please, please, can I go on to the honorable member for Woodley East?
Okay, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, your predecessor definitely convinced us that with this zero duty on rice, the price of rice will either go down or will be stabilized. But as it stands now, the price is still is hiking. So would your ministry be willing to conduct a study or encourage another sector to conduct a study to find out why this is so and help us to understand what we can do to actually ameliorate the situation. Because as it stands now, it's the ordinary people that are losing.
Thank you very much. We will try to carry out that study. The reason why I was saying the Ministry of Trade, because they are our conduit when it comes to communicating with the private sector. And I can assure you, genuinely and with good intention, my predecessor came here for a very valid and justified reason to convince the National Assembly that we believe that if we zero rate the duty on rice, it will go very genuine. But you're talking about the private sector, that they should have the moral and ethical behavior to really come down. It's a cartel. It's a cartel. Now, we will revisit the whole issue with a study. You know, it will not be a full-blown study, but something that we'll be able to carry out the statistics, interview, and then see exactly what we can do. But I promise you that we will carry that out. We will do it with the Ministry of Trade, Chamber of Commerce, and also the GRA. We will try and do that.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Upper Salum.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, from the Minister's responses, it seems there are factors that would determine these prices, and I would call it maybe internal and external factors. External perhaps being the world market prices and the FX rates, and then the internal factors. Now, because I know the external you cannot control, we cannot control, but the internal factors within the country, what are your plans in association with the Minister of Trade and the Minister of Agriculture to help in this aspect so that the price of rice can be stabilized or at least be reduced further? Are you in any talk or in any agreement with these two ministries to see exactly what can you do to bring the price of rice down in this country?
Thank you very much. I will also include the Ministry for Transportation. They are in charge of the Port Authority. Right now, the agricultural policy direction deliberate is for us to really go for rice self-sufficiency, and they are working very hard toward that. We are hoping that with that sort of policy and effective project implementation, we should be able to achieve that. Of course, it takes a lot of cost in the sense that the investment really required in terms of the machinery, farmer education. We are hoping that we have already engaged the African Development Bank on that, and the Agriculture Ministry, they are taking a lead in that. In addition to that, someone mentioned about demurrage. Right now, there is a port expansion strategy, and we are hoping that when the port expansion project is completed, the demurrage charges will go down. Hopefully, if it is maybe even by half there, then we can really make sure that whatever they're coming up with, especially if there are internal issues or controls that we can do, we will be able to execute it.
Thank you. The last on my list, Honorable Member for Bakau.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, in 2018, the duty on rice was rated 0, and there was no payment of duty in rice imported in 2018. Can you give us the reason why there was no payment of duty in 2018 for the rice import?
Can you come back? Because if it is 0 rated, then there will be no duty.
I'm saying there was no duty on rice in 2018, which was rated 0, and there was no payment of duty in rice imports for the year 2020. What's the reason behind non-payment of duty?
Because it was zero rated. What we have here is if we were charging duties, then we will collect 305 million. But it was zero rated, so we cannot collect anything.
Honorable Minister, question number 208, 2019, by the Honorable Member for Ilyasa.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, can Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs give the August Assembly the statistical data on rice imported in the country through container and bulk cargo for the year 2017 and 2019? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, the statistics is right there as our response. The total in 2017, gross in terms of kilograms is 245 million. In terms of dollars, is 1.9 billion. 2018, gross in terms of kilograms is 329,949,167.33. Terms of dollars denominated is 3,526,661,296.26. 2019 gross in terms of kgs is 215,496,680.58. Dollars denominated is 3,050,927,078.44. That's the statistics for 2017, 2018, and 2019.
Honorable Member for Ilyasa, any supplementary?
No, thank you.
Any supplementary? Honorable Member for Ilyasa. Member for Lower Fuladu West.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, how can we bail out the country from the culture of spending huge amount of monies on rice importation? If it is agriculture, or if it is to invest more money on agriculture, why can't the government take that trend so that we can feed ourselves?
Yes, through self-sufficiency, and I think from now towards the end of the year, you will see tangible evidence of what agriculture is trying to do. You will see it with your own eyes, that the minister has been, I think he is one of those ministers that almost every other weekend she's on track. She's in consultation locally and internationally, and the Ministry of Finance is also assisting her to make sure that the necessary resources and the technical capability is mobilized. Definitely, very soon, I think you can see a lot of things going on the ground that very soon it will be unearthed and you will see exactly what she's been doing, a fantastic job.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Brikama North.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, if you compare the gross in 2017, the total gross for 2017 is 245,149. Now compare that with that of 2018, 329,949.167, and to 2019 is 215. It happens that in 2017 to 2018, there is an increase in the gross. But in 2019, it has decreased. Likewise, the total amount also increased from 2017 to 2018, but there is a decline in 2019. What could be the contributing factor to this decline?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think in every business, businesses like this is demand-driven. And just remember that almost more than 50% of what we import, we re-export. It is a possibility that the amount of re-export has gone down, and as you are aware, that the border controls that has affected us. It could be a possibility that the value has also gone down. In addition to that, I think there are certain things that are going on in the country now. I think here you have Gambians that have now, in small scale, but very effective. I am aware of Maru farms now that has now mobilized thousands of women farmers that are now in rice productions. And these are very, very positive signs. It could be that. But I think given the situation and the scale, the amount, most likely the re-export trade is a major contributing factor.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Woodley East.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm just curious to know which country does the Gambia import rice most? And apart from rice, what type of business does the Gambia have with that particular country?
It's a very difficult question because you have some of them, they shift in the sense that, businesses are grasshoppers. They just look at the world market price. Sometimes they can go to Asia, sometimes they can go to Latin America, South America. So we really have to go deep and look at those detailed statistics. But to be specific, no, they just move. They just have their own dashboard and they look at what is available in the world market price, and they will go for that, depending on their relationships. These are the things that we can go to GRA and get more details. But mostly in the past, what we know is Thailand, Vietnam, and China most of the time, even India nowadays, Brazil, but to know the quantum, I think we need to go into the statistics. But mostly it's determined price determination. When the price, a drought has happened in Asia, they move to where production is, you have abandoned a lot of production, then they can buy the rice from there.
Thank you. We move to question number 209, 2019, by the Honorable Member for Ilyasa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, can Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs inform the August Assembly the amount of money generated since the government has introduced VAT system and what impact it has on the economy of the country? Virtually, thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, for the year since the VAT was implemented from 2013, 695.3 million. Total 2014, 723.7 million. 2015, 819 million. 2016, 893.8 million. 2017, 880 million. 2018, 1.2 billion dollars, and 2019, $1.4 billion. The introduction of VAT has resulted to increase in revenue collection as indicated in the table above, translating in an increase in social service delivery.
Any supplementary from the Honorable Member for Ilyasa?
Okay, thank you. Honorable Speaker, is there any control mechanism of paying these VATs at GRA?
Yes, this is all digitalized. GRA, they are very advanced in terms of digital. Anything that is collected is digitalized. So that's the control mechanism.
Thank you very much. What I'm saying is that whether there is, because there are certain business people who know that they normally pay their VAT without going to custom. Whether there is any control in between from the foundry business body and the customs so as to control the system of paying the VAT. That's what I'm asking for.
As far as we know, there is no alternative route. There is one route, and VAT is paid according to the law, and that's what they do. In the event any business is found to not comply, there are penalties, and JARE always make sure that they execute the necessary penalties that just to punish the business that are not complying. But so far, there is no shortcut.
Honorable Member for Upper Salu.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the collections rate from 2013 to 2019, you are talking about almost a 200% increase. Would the Honorable Minister confirm whether this is as a result of efficiency by GRA, or is it because of an increase in the volume of business? Or what are the factors that led to this drastic increase from 2013 to 2019?
I think it's both. I think GRA, they've been very much effective in collection. And again, one of the most important things, they have gone digital. And I think digital has really revealed a lot of positive results, how they do it. But again, the volume of business has also increased, and as it increases, they make sure that collection is done. But digitalization, effectiveness, execution, those are things that has contributed to it. But above all, the human factor. If you're caught not paying the VAT, on some occasions, we've been approached to intervene, but we never intervene. We make sure they collect the VAT with the penalty charge.
Thank you. Honorable nominated member Yakumba Jaite, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, you've mentioned digitalization. And this is very important because I've been reading on countries like Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya, how they have digitalized the tax collection system, particularly when it comes to VAT, to the point of there is no escape route. That even when a shopkeeper sells me this bottle of water, there's a scanner touch and it will show the VAT you are supposed to collect. Is the ministry thinking along these lines to help GRA digitalize the system? Because the study I was informed about has shown that we collect only 60% of our taxes and 40% is gone. Are you planning on stepping up on this digitalization so we can collect all the taxes due and serve our people better? Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Speaker. Honorable nominated member, yes. It's a deliberate policy. We are going digital in all aspects, just to make sure that the leakages, they have been reduced. If you look at the performance now, and I think even the actuals with GRA in the midst of this pandemic, I think digitalization helped a lot. And we are continuously making the necessary adjustments, and there are ongoing programs with our partners to make sure digitalization is all complete, including the mobile money. A lot of digitalization is definitely on, and it has reduced really most of the leakages that we used to have, because most of the time it's linked. We are hoping that in the near future, it will be linked to all, including the social security, the GRA, anywhere with the police licensing, where anywhere you go, before you pay, you will make sure that the TIN number, you have a TIN number. Once you have a TIN number, they'll be able to determine visibly whether you have been VAT compliant or not. We will admit you still have leakages, but it has reduced significantly.
Honorable member for Upper Nyomi, supplementary.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Honorable Minister, the Honorable member asked for the impact this VAT collection has on the economy of the country. And your answer was the introduction of VAT has resulted to increased revenue collection as indicated in the table above, translate into an increase in social service delivery. And the honorable member for Upper Salem, I just want to ask his similar question what he has asked, that the increment from 2013 to 2019 is almost 200%. How does the financial utilization compare to the amount collected? Are these funds judiciously utilized as a Ministry of Finance?
I think this current budget that we are talking about is a poverty budget. I think I have come to the House, to the National Assembly, to really present a real poverty budget. We're talking about infrastructure, emergency road networks, provision of boreholes, solar, and many other things, including the national, the health insurance, and many others. It's a poverty budget. That's why we said we've been able to increase allocation to the social sectors.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Central Badibu. Supplementary. Central Badibu. Honorable Member for Central Badibu. You don't? Okay. Honorable Member for Serakunda, the floor is yours.
Honorable Speaker, I wanted to make an observation, but it was a long time.
I've already called you. You don't say now. I am calling the Honorable Member for Serakunda, please.
Thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, the Minister gave a correlation between the increase in VAT collection and the increase in social service delivery. Is this just a general comment, or is there a definite linkage between the collection and specific sectors of the delivery of services, such as providing levies for maybe the youth or women or given sectors? And if not, would that be appropriate with this emerging women, Gambia Women Development Fund, that it is linked directly to something that can provide it with resources on the basis of a levy?
It's a general comment, but where it is justified for a sector, a social sector, to come up with a request, then we can link it directly, but it's a general comment.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Brikama North.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, if I may put it this way, the tendency of non-VAT payment on non-digitalized businesses is very high. If so, what regulatory mechanism do your ministry put in place to address that situation?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Member, it's an operational issue, and the GRA, they have their own mobile unit, and they go for surveillance, they go for inspections, and this alone, I think it has increased that voluntary declaration coming from the non-digitalized businesses.
Thank you. Honorable question number 210, 2019, by the Honorable Member for Ilyasa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs provide this August Assembly the statistical data of 2017 to 2019 on amount of revenue collected by GRA and a possible breakdown of each month. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, the table that we have for the annual collection for 2017 GRA is in dollars is $7,970.60. No, it's in million, but billion. Yeah. 2018, 33.60 billion, 2019 004.50 billion dollars. The detailed monthly breakdown is attached, is an annex to it, is very clear there as to their monthly, the table is attached.
Honorable Member for Elias, any supplementary?
Okay, thank you very much. You know, Honorable Minister, you know, tax collection is one of the most difficult things. Okay, do you normally give any incentive if they collect more than their target? Thank you.
Yes, we give them a bonus that every collection they are paid monthly, but nothing more than their 1 month salary. We give them a bonus. There's a percentage, that is why GRA, they are responsible for their own operation. But we give a package of the total collection, at least it should be around 3.4% that we give them. But according to their own operationalization of it, incentives, they will share, but nothing more than their 1 month salary, and the rest of the money is for their operational expenses.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Lower Fuladu West.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, what is the threshold given to GRA in terms of revenue collection per month? Thank you.
I don't have the statistics, but we have a target that very tough targets. But again, that target means that you will minimum, this is how much you can collect. But so far, on average, we are asking them to come up with $1 billion a month. That is the threshold that we give, what we give them.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Upper Fuladu West.
Yes, just an observation. Honorable Minister, can you help us here? It looks like March is a very strong month of revenue collections for the authority. And December, January, which we see, hope to see more of an increase in terms of tax, what I mean, especially when it comes to corporation taxes and stuff like that. We see the numbers are not very compelling, very, very strong. Is there any reason for this? Especially given your total tax returns at the end of every year to compile the 4 quarters.
Yeah. Okay, it's seasonal. I think in a normal tourism period, I think you will see imports going up. At a certain point in time, it goes down. But for the first quarter, normally these are the period that you have the tax returns. They are mandatory. But this year, because of the COVID, we've asked GRA really to extend it. So it's about seasonality and the products that they are dealing with. It's more of that.
Papa Salum.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Would the Honorable Minister confirm whether this bonus that he's paying to GRA, is it part of the subvention you give them, or this is something completely separate from the subvention that you give them for their operational activities?
It's all in one package, but it is anytime we have the actual figures, not what they have given us, but the one that is in the central bank account. That's how we dispose it.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Serakunda.
Honorable Speaker, if we compare the VAT contribution in 2019, 1.4, and the 11 billion that is totally collected, Honorable Speaker, would the Honorable Minister give an assessment of the state of the private sector in terms of contribution to the taxes of the country, since between January and March is usually the period when taxes must be paid, especially corporate taxes. Is there any correlation between the growth of the private sector or its lack of growth and the figures that we see between January and March in terms of returns by GRA?
Yes, there is correlation. Just to remember that VAT is a consumption tax. So that is sometimes very, very difficult to predict. But yes, there is a correlation. I think during the past 2 years or so, we've seen some businesses are coming in, some other businesses are also going out to do relocation. But we are having more of them coming in. Yes, there is a correlation, and these are things that we will have to go down and really break down the figures. But just to separate it, the VAT and the actual, yes, the private sector. And so far, what we have seen is increased compliance from the private sector. I think the compliance rate has significantly increased. That is why at least you took from 2017 to 2019, I think the amount is significant. And up to the period I'm talking to you now, they have been doing reasonably well. That's why we are paying our salaries and meeting our international obligations.
Thank you. Honorable nominated member Yakumba Jaite.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, you just stated in your replies that the target normally is $1 billion every month. And it is if they make this target that you pay them bonuses. The bonus is based on achieving the target. Is this same target for these years you've mentioned, 2017, 2018, or is 2019, or is this just a new target for 2020? Because it seems they haven't met this target with these numbers.
No, when we say that in the agreement that we have them, we say this is the minimum. We say between 800 and 1 billion. 1 billion is the stretch that we really, so between that, whatever you collect, it is that percentage. He was talking about the threshold. I said, yes, we always make sure at least the 1 billion is the target, is stretch. But within that 1 billion, if you collect 800, 900, we still pay you your bonus. It's an incentive for them to go up higher, and it has been proven that over the years they have been really going up, more efficient, much more effective.
Thank you. Question number 211, 2019, by the Honorable Member for Upper Fuladu West.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, can I withdraw the question? It's overtaken by events. I lodged this question about mid last year. So, okay, then let me ask the question. Maybe some other. Okay. Honorable Speaker, can the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs provide this August Assembly the level of budget executions of all MDAs from January to September 2019 and the compliance level as per the approved budget allocations of 2019?
Thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, I wish to inform the Honorable Member for Florida West that as at end September 2019, there was an overall budget execution rate of 61%. A detail by the MDS is attached to this annex. There is a table giving you all the information is attached.
I'll reserve my 2 supplementary questions in case I get inspired by some of the other questions coming.
Didn't hear you well, Honorable Member for Upper Fuladu West. He said,
I want to reserve my 2 supplementary questions until and allow other members to maybe give me more. Well, then, if I want to.
Why reserving your 2 supplementary questions? Why don't the opportunity is yours now, please?
Okay, I withdraw my 2 supplementary questions.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Member for Brikama North.
Honorable Minister, it appears the second part of the question has not been dealt with, that is, and the compliance level as per approved budget allocation of 2019.
The compliance is there. We said 61%. They've complied 61%.
Honorable Member for Central Badibu.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, 60%, 61%, yes, it's obvious. But what are some of your challenges? Can you put us on the challenges that you face? Basically, the challenges that you come across in the execution or in the compliance level.
Yeah, I think what we have done and what we are still doing is that every disbursement that we make, the work plan that you submitted prior to the following month, whatever you've given us your request, before we make any additional disbursement, we have to confirm that you have executed. If you have not, then your allocation or the disbursement will be reduced. Of course, it's also linked to the available resources, the revenue that we have. That is why monthly we have a cash plan. We always request from the sectors your activities, and then we try by all means. Sometimes we cannot meet 100% of your activities, but when the revenue increases and we have other resources, we always try to disperse more. The challenge has been, apart from the unavailability of enough resources, some sectors we try by all means, especially the social sectors, to comply at least 100%. But most of the time with the other sectors, is a slow execution of their programs.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Serakunda, the floor is yours.
Yeah, Honorable Speaker, we have seen the higher level of execution by Ministry of Interior and Defense. But when we look at the institutions of women and children, we're seeing very low execution. Especially also, I would want the Minister to explain in terms of debt service, to have that percentage in terms of execution. What is really happening with this level of execution? Because that is 59%, whilst women is about 31%. But then in terms of interior and defense, you have up to 71%. Could you make a comparative analysis in terms of the differences in level of execution?
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Member, I think again, when it comes to, I think the Ministry of Women and Children is a new ministry. And then I think the capacity to execute some of their budget line items might be a challenge. I think over time we are working with them to make sure that they have developing good programs and projects. And if you don't submit that, we will not give you a blank check. I think for defense and interior, I think they have learned over time that based on their requests, we will never ever give them. I think in the past, their performance have been below 50%. I think recently we've been very strong. We said, if you don't execute what you've given us, we will not disperse. And so far, they've been reasonably doing well.
Supplementary, Honorable Member for Opasalu.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, would the Honorable Minister confirm whether these percentages of budget execution has some relationship with the priorities that you give to the various ministries? Because, you know, I know when you do cash allocation, it's going to be based on certain factors. Now, would those priorities actually affect this budget execution from the various ministries?
No, we don't give them priorities. they will submit their priorities, and based on that, if you go to the middle of the month and you want to change a priority, we don't accept it. You have to go to the end, then with your new submission, you can do any adjustments there.
We go to question number 212, 2019, by the Honorable Member for Upper Fatou West.
Again, another event, Honorable Speaker, can the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs tell this August Assembly why duty charges worth of $13 million was levied on KMC garbage disposal trucks that was in the direct interest of the general public?
Honorable Speaker, the KMC garbage trucks was a public-private partnership arrangement between KMC and ESPAS, and a review of the agreement indicates that the trucks were the properties of ESPAS Motors until such a time KMC completes payment, that is 36 months. As such, duty exemption could not be granted under such a scheme. May I elaborate on that? Example, after the payment of this, KMC came back to us and tell us now we have about 4 trucks, that these trucks are going to military installations, hospitals, clinics to collect the garbage. That is not a commercial operation. And we make sure that one we were able to waive. We tell them these ones are okay, but we monitor. The day we see a truck that is meant to be collecting garbage from the hospital or military installations, doing a commercial operations, we're going to withdraw that.
Honorable Member for Woodley East. Oh, you didn't ask your supplementary. Okay, you can ask your supplementary if you want to.
Yes, thank you. The Honorable Minister has mentioned that until such a time, KMC completes no payment 36 months, and as such, duty exemptions could be. So do you mean under the same arrangement, after they pay ESPAS Motors, they're due, and the ownership comes to KMC, maybe this can be revisited, or you're talking about future interventions? Is that what you're trying to say? Because I don't understand.
Yeah, we're talking about future, because if at all in the future is imported in the name of KMC, and confirming that even if it is the public enterprises do pay taxes. But if it's something, it's a social service, we will grant it. But if it is commercial, even if it is, you are charging $1, it's classified commercial, you have to pay the taxes. But future arrangements, if they import it and confirm that these are for social service deliveries, then that one is depending on the evaluation by the division responsible for tax, we will be more than willing to give it to them.
For Fatou West. Woodley East.
I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you. Central Badibu.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the schemes look like a very good scheme, and definitely really welcome the step taken by your ministry. Now, but for future, will your ministry be more willing to engage the councils to support them so that trucks will be provided not only in the urban centers but even in the rural areas, so that garbage collection will become history? Because you consider it that rural Gambia, you have a lot of littering all over, and the councils don't have the resource, to provide this kind of trucks. Will your ministry be more willing to support the rural councils so that they can get these trucks and make some, at least business out of it?
If we are talking about support for them to access financing, yes, but not that we are, through maybe their development budget, that when we have it, no problem, we are more than willing to do that.
Honorable nominated member Yakumba Jaite.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, I think we have come right back to the question Honorable Mbo saved you from, about the waiving of the duty and the tax. You have just confirmed that there is a scheme you have to make a decision whether to waive tax or not, and there is a body responsible. Honorable Minister, are you aware that this scheme and this body responsible to waive tax is subject to the approval of the National Assembly, that no person can waive taxation without approval of the National Assembly? And how does the scheme work? What are the requirements? And why doesn't it come to the National Assembly?
We are doing this according to the law. We are talking about a duty waiver. We are not talking about the tax. It is the duty. Here, when it comes to the overall tax regime, that's when we will come. And it is provided in the law. Maybe this is an academic thing. We can sit down with you and exchange ideas and show you exactly where we are relying on that in the Public Finance Act.
Honorable member for Serakunda.
Honorable Speaker.
Honorable member for New Prefect.
The answer implies that the KMC engaged in this relationship unilaterally without the knowledge of the central government. And if that is the case, is there not a need for central government to enter into dialogue with the councils regarding ways and means that they can enter into public-private partnership that the government will be supportive of? Isn't there not such a need?
Thank you very much. I think after this breakdown in communication, the Ministry of Local Government and Land did engage not only KMC but all the councils that in the future, when you are doing such programs or any negotiation, especially dealing with issues like PPP, we have our own unit in the division in the ministry that do advise, and that now the latest update I have from the minister is that it's been resolved, and that any other future engagements they are going to go into, the ministry will be involved, and they will also seek the technical advice from the public-private partnership. We've encouraged them. You are right, Honorable. I think that breakdown in communication, because at the time they were saying that the Minister of Finance rejected, it was never on my table. I have not seen any request at the time. Even when I got a call to tell me, I told him, where is this? It was at the Ministry of Local Government, because they said that they did not go through the proper procedure. And that breakdown in communication has now been resolved.
Honorable member for Fonyi Brefret.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Would the Honorable Minister consider as a good idea to waive the duties for the said trucks as government's contributions to the LGS, considering the fact that over the years, government is unable to pay its subventions to the councils, and also grants are not being paid to the government as a goodwill gesture?
Honorable member, yes. But as the honorable member from Serakunda said, if we were involved from the beginning, then going through the process, once the local government ministry submit that request, we will not have any other way but to accept it. Once in the process, from the beginning, the ministry is involved, everybody is aware, the PPP division, make sure that the compliance in accordance, the model that we have is okay, then they will be the one. It's the local government ministry that will submit that request, and we'll be more than happy to really support that.
Thank you. Question number 213, 2019, by the Honorable Member for Upper Salu.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as the digital economy starts to take shape in many countries and in some instances contributing significantly to their country's GDP as well as its potential for use in terrorist financing and money laundering, can the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs tell this August Assembly whether the Central Bank of the Gambia has policies and regulations in place for the monitoring of the digital economy, especially mobile money and consumer protection?
Thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Member, I wish to inform the Honorable Member for Upper Salem that the government does recognize the risk associated to digital economy, and it is in this light that government set up the Financial Intelligence Unit and the Gambia Competition and Consumer Protection Commission to check any threats arising from such acts. Moreover, for mobile money, the Banking Supervision Department of the Central Bank of the Gambia, aided by the revised Central Bank Act 2018, is closely monitoring operators to ensure risk emanating from such is contained.
Supplementary, Honorable Member for Upper Salem.
Yes, thank you. Honorable Speaker, would the Honorable Minister confirm whether there are any plans for an Act of Parliament that will be introduced to regulate or to provide guidance to the businesses in taxing the digital economy in terms of or the creation of mobile money bonds, etc., etc. Because if you look at the digital economy, for example, in Kenya in 2015, 44% of their GDP was on the digital economy. Do you plan to have any acts, or do you want to leave that with the other ministry, technology also?
Thank you very much. Yes, the new kid in the block is mobile money. And we are working with the Ministry of Information and Communication just to avoid any duplication to ensure that all of those issues that might be a threat will be addressed. We are working definitely closely with the Ministry of Information and Communication, hoping whether the new agency will be mandated to do that or the Financial Intelligence Unit, depending on the outcome of the study. Thank you.
Honorable Member for Opanyomi, supplementary. Sarakunda, take Sarah.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Honorable Minister, the Honorable Member asked for the policies and regulations in place for the monitoring of the digital economy, especially mobile money and consumer protection. Yeah, so I just want to reiterate that, do we have any policy in place?
As far as we are concerned, exactly the answer that the Financial Intelligence Unit and the Gambia Competition and Protection Commission and the Banking Supervision, aided by the revised Central Bank Act of 2018, are the main instruments that are in place. The policy being that we are able to set up these institutions to make sure that they are monitoring and supervising these activities.
Honorable Member for Serakunda.
Honorable Speaker, the real focus is cybersecurity, policies, and regulations. Have the gaps really been assessed regarding what is intended in terms of development and what is lacking in terms of capacity building? And if so, what concrete, maybe that's a new question, but is there a real attempt to look at the gaps at this moment in order to ensure that it is bridged to ensure greater cybersecurity?
Thank you very much. Honorable Member, the Minister of Information and Communication did, especially with the cybersecurity, and I think very soon he will be coming to the National Assembly to present to you what they have. They have done a lot of work on it, and they're almost at the finalized stage to make sure that these things are executed, at least they are, to become a law.
Honorable Member for Banjul North.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the question is asking whether policies and regulations are in place for the monitoring of the digital economy, especially mobile money and consumer protection. Would the Minister consider that this is a new area, and then, as you know, it's a lot of threat in it in terms of derailing the economy? Would the Ministry not consider engaging the central bank to come up with regulations to regulate this sector of the economy, this emerging sector?
Yes, I think they already have in their regulation, but to be specific, yes, you are right. This is where they are working, we, Central Bank, Finance Ministry, and also the Ministry of Information and Communication, to be more surgical in approach, saying this is specifically for this. These are things that are coming up, yes.
Question number 214, 2019, by the Honorable Member for Serakunda.
Honorable Speaker, would the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs indicate to this august body how much has been accrued from the gateway since the Borough administration took over, where the funds are lodged, if any, and what government intends to do with the funds accrued?
Thank you very much. I wish to inform the Honorable Member for Serakunda the amount collected since the gateway, the amount collected from the gateway since the Borough administration took over is $6.2 million. Let me just explain that there is a period where it was a monopoly. It was done by the private sector, and it was like a PPP. That's where we recorded the 6.2. A total, then we do the liberalization. That, up to the information I'm giving you on the table was up to March 2018. Then we went to liberalization, where it's both the public and private sector, and a total amount of 117,479,806.03 has been received. This is from September to May. Invoices for June have just been issued, and with payment due by 31st July. These funds are distributed with the liberalized scheme to PURA 5%, GAMTEL 5%, Information and Telecommunication Agency 5%, National Health Insurance Scheme 5%, government 30%, and this government 30%, that's what we have given to this Youth and Sports Council, whilst the remaining 50% is distributed to the operators of the gateway. Let me just clarify that the entire monies that we have are all lodged at the central bank before even I came. So this new liberalized scheme monitors the entire money that is collected, and this is why it is dollars denominated. Before it was in foreign currency, and the entire money is deposited there in the central bank, and both government, yes, there has been usage on behalf of, there was a blockage a couple of years ago by the finance minister then as and when GAMTEL requests or there is a need, that's how the disbursements was made. But as of now, it's a liberalized scheme, and this is the distribution, and so far, this is the amount that is collected, and PURA, the Public Utility Regulatory Authority, they are the ones taking the lead right now. They will collect and disperse.
Honorable Member for Serakunda, supplementary.
Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Minister did mention that 50% is redistributed to the operators of the gateway. Who are the operators?
The operators are the GSM members within in the Gambia that comprises of AfriCell, QCell, Africell, QCell, Gamtel, Gomium, and we also, yes, that's how the 50% is distributed. We can give a much more detailed breakdown on that, and each of them, because that's the distribution, we should be able to give out a more detailed information on that. How the 50% is also distributed.
Honourable Member for Serakunda, your second supplementary.
Honourable Speaker, taking into consideration that Gamtel has taken a loan of $25 million, and the gateway has been a way of getting resources to be able to augment the earning capacity of Gamcell. If the gateway is only contributing 5% to Gamtel, don't we really see, Honourable Speaker, the trend towards lack of viability of this public enterprise by virtue of the fact that it is being starved of funds through this means of privatization of the gateway?
Honourable Member, I think there was a period, you can see the gap between before liberalization. I think everything was handed over to Gamcell. And I think the executive good intention and goodwill there was to see whether they should be able to merge all the revenues that was coming up. But the figures did not convince the executive. The executive was the view, is of the view, that going liberal with the investment, because these operators that we are talking about, they're the ones who invested in the state-of-the-art machinery that will be able to monitor all these incoming costs. It's a state-of-the-art. For the 25 million that was secured for Gamtel, there are revenues that are starting to come. The fiber optic now, Gamtel, they are now linking houses and businesses, and that money is also generating revenue. And that entire money, 100% of that goes to Gamtel. And it is a possibility, there are new ideas coming up with the infrastructure, some of the other areas that Gamtel can generate revenues, that we are really making sure that that entire money, government will have no intervention, the entire money will go to Gamtel. It's about adapting to a very fast-changing environment, and that so far what we have seen, they have attempts, they have very good staff there, but then there's a cost-benefit analysis. When we do that, we realize that the revenues that we are earning was not enough, but then with the new fiber optic, we are hoping that they should be able to, actually they have started to generate revenue from those activities.
Honourable Member for Upper Salum.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I think I was one of those that actually supported the liberalization of this gateway. But Honourable Speaker, would the Honourable Minister confirm whether what is the trend before liberalization and after liberalization in terms of the revenue that is actually coming? What is the trend? Is it increasing or is it decreasing in totality?
To tell you the truth, so far, because we just said it has just started, but so far what we have seen, in our own honest opinion, it is not very encouraging. But we really need to give them time to make sure the real impact. We will have experts that will evaluate to see exactly after the liberalization what will happen. But up to today, we are 100% in for liberalization. We are hoping that the leakages that were happening before will reduce, and that the income that we expect will come on board, and we should be able to make the decision. But so far, it's growing. Not the rate that we wanted it, but the reality is that now it's more of data that we are dealing with instead of voice. So these are things that we take into consideration, that if we want to compare 2015-14 to now, maybe it might not be a fair comparison. Most of the people that are now doing their calls home is WhatsApp through other means that don't cost them anything. So we are monitoring, but we are also factoring in that you cannot do the same analysis as 2-3 years ago. We want to make sure whatever we do, we are in line with the current realities.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Honorable Minister, when you look at the amount collected in 2017, it's like $3,717,201 US. And the amount collected just in 2018 is like $2,500,000 US. And that of 2019, I think what you gave was is like 117. So I don't know why, government is sticking to this particular liberalization. When you look at the previous people who are responsible for collection are collecting more than this new system you just introduced. So why are you still sticking to this liberalization? Why? What are we getting from that if we are losing?
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Member, that's what I said. Is it fair to really compare what was happening? The landscape has changed. The way communication was done has changed. The income that was generated and the information technology now, there is a lot of leakages now. The technology that people are using to really cheat on calls that are coming, that they terminate. So we are still adapting. It's a small country and we are still trying to, the intent of the liberalization was to make sure that we reduce the leakages. So we are yet to get the final, it's just starting. I think it has to be, if we are to be fair, we should give it at least minimum of a year, 9 months to see the real impact, and then we can make the decision. Just to factor in that the way communication was done, and now voice has taken, the data has now taken over. Voice you have less, and even with data, you still have some leakages, but minimal leakages. So we are now, it's all within that spirit of public-private sector that we've been talking about. Now we are practicing it. And these are people that are on the ground working with us closely. So we will encourage them to continue to do that. But the real thing is the statistics, and we will be monitoring that.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Woodley East.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want the Minister to explain further what is the criteria in this distribution. I was thinking that the GAMTEL as, GAMTEL as the host will get more because they need to do more investment. But also, the redistribution, what criteria is being used and what is the purpose of the redistribution to these operators? What are they doing with the money? Is it a loan? Explain those things too, because I don't understand.
Okay, the entire investment is coming from them. It is over time that it's like a BOT. Once whatever they invested, they've been able to recover, then that's when we will take over. As to giving GAMTEL, the 50% that belongs to government, that's where we're able to distribute it. But GAMTEL did not put a single butut into this. I think they are just beneficiaries. We wish that we can give them more. That is why when we talk about giving to the social sector, service delivery, now we're talking about youth, we're talking about women, we're talking about, that is where the 30% is going. Do we have to give more to GAMTEL at the expense of the youth and sports levy? No. So this is the whole area that we are looking at equilibrium to see exactly who should benefit more. Here we're talking about youth, we're talking about women, we're talking about other activities that will contribute towards the upliftment of the youth and women in this country.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Upper Fatou West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just some clarification. I don't understand. PURA, is it a subvented agency? PURA is subvented by the government, is a subvented agency under the Ministry of Finance, yeah? And so this 5%, is it on top of the subventions, or this is, another arrangement?
It's an addition.
It's an arrangement. Okay, so you mentioned in your answers, the National Health Service Scheme, insurance scheme. How far with that? You promised that by this, this year we will see something about that, and that was very much, part of the budget that we approved. So how far with that?
Thank you very much. I think everybody will blame COVID. Up to today, we have the expert, the World Bank expert that has been helping us. He's still in country. What we are trying to do from now towards the end of the day, at least the skeleton staff, the draft cabinet paper is ready, the bill, everything is ready. It's more of just, but we've been distracted. I think we really have to blame COVID. And it is our wish to make sure that by the time the September session, we should be able to bring the bill forward.
Honorable Member for Central Badibu.
Thank you. Honorable Speaker, I just want Honorable Minister whether there is possibility to reconsider the distribution here. As you said, GAMTEL is a concern to all of us, though you have other sectors too that needs support. But we can see what GAMTEL can yield for our country. So would you mind to reconsider giving them at least 10%?
I cannot determine that. It's the executive, and that I will make sure your request is submitted.
Thank you. Question number 215, 2019, by the Honorable Member for Nyamina East.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the purpose of these questions, they are more or less defeated. However, I wish to read question 215 and withdraw the other two. Honorable Speaker, can the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs tell this August Assembly the total sum of monies spent on government traveling since 1st January to October 2019? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Member, from 1st January to end October 2019, a total of $269,745,723 was spent on travel expenses, accounting for 80% of its approved budget.
Honorable Member for Nyamina East.
Yes, Honorable Minister, does this include all forms of invitation from other partners to government officials?
You mean the partners inviting them?
Supplementary.
I am simply saying, at times partners will invite government officials of this country. Will those individuals be sponsored, or their traveling package paid by the Gambia government, or will be paid by the partners?
No, it cannot be included, because before you go to the Overseas Travel Committee, you must submit that invitation. And the invitation always will tell you, are they paying for the travels? Are they paying for the per diem, the hotels? If that is they will just give you the approval, but very clear, without government spending.
Supplementary from Nyamina East. Upper Salum.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Would the Honorable Minister confirm whether this amount has no augmentation, For example, it was strictly within the limits of the budget. There was no augmentation towards this amount. Thank you.
Augmentations, I cannot confirm, but 99.9% is that one. We are normally very tough with that. To move from somewhere to traveling, we are very restricted on that.
Lower Fuladu West.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, do you have any other monies on travels apart from the amount budgeted in the national budget? Thank you.
No.
Honorable Member for Serakunda.
Honorable Speaker, is there any policy governing the foreign travels that government has in place in order to really determine whether it should be undertaken or not? Is there a policy?
Yes, I think what is happening is that is why up to today you need the clearance, and that will help government really to monitor. And before it is within that clearance that it will be determined whether it will be approved or not, whether government will have to pay for it or not. It is a very clear policy that you cannot just, as a civil servant, just leave the country just like that. Most of the time, even if you are on vacation, you need that sort of clearance just for government to know that you are outside the country should, in case your service is requested.
Opanyomi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, you made mention that 80% of the approved budget was spent on this travel. But like we have seen that a particular ministry has spent 223% of its travel budget, which is above the ceiling which was approved by this assembly. And we learned that there were debts which were paid from 2014 or from 2015 to up to 2019. So, and I could not even understand why you said 80% if that particular ministry has consumed almost 220%. Can you please shed light on that?
When we do our analysis, it's done on the current budget. If you have ideas that have rollover, but with something very justified, that's where that he is talking about possibilities of augmentation, just to be able to pay areas, but augmentation not to pay or fund any future trips. Does that answer your question?
Somehow.
Central Badibu. Central Badibu.
Thank you. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Minister will agree with me that this is a huge amount of money, and I believe it can be used in other purposes to boost our economy or our way of life. Do you have a criteria or do you have a standard that you set to monitor some of these invitations, that come? Because sometimes there is need for our officials to go and attend this training. Do you scrutinize it?
Yes. Honorable member, that's why we have the Overseas Travel Committee, that every government official traveling must go through this committee. You will have to submit your request and the attachments, then they will determine whether it is approved or not. But I think you are right. I think in the wake of COVID, what we have learned now is that you really don't have to go for all of these trips. I think from our point of view, finance, now we are going to, in the next budget, just to see ways and possibilities where some of these meetings, or most of these meetings, if we can do virtual. So we are in the process of trying to mobilize resources to make sure that every ministry is equipped with the technology and the equipment necessary to be able to do all these virtual meetings.
Question number 216-2019 by the Honorable Member for Nyamina East.
You don't listen to me well, Honorable Speaker. I said I wish to withdraw the other two because the purpose is already defeated. Thank you.
Question number 217. The 2 has been withdrawn, or 17 has been withdrawn. Okay. What of 18? Question number 218, 2019 by the Honorable Member for Woolly East.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the simultaneous circulation of new and old banknotes in the market would have far-reaching inflationary ramifications. Can the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs tell this August Assembly what steps his ministry has taken to address the issue with a view to ending the practice? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Member, the Central Bank of the Gambia has a co-circulation policy. However, the Central Bank of the Gambia has issued a circular to call all commercial banks to return all notes, soiled and mutilated notes, as there is adequate stock of new notes at the Central Bank of the Gambia for circulation. Concerning inflationary prices, I wish to inform this August Assembly that the Central Bank of the Gambia is constantly monitoring the currency in circulation. As such, the co-circulation of currency does not pose any inflationary pressure in the economy.
Honorable Member for Woodley East.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, it is my view that this reprinting of notes can be costly, and it has a tendency of reducing the value of real money. So don't you think it is urgent that the printing is done once and the exchange, removal of the old notes and putting in the new notes be completed? Don't you think that is the best way for reducing the cost?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Member, yes, it is the best way, but we don't have the resources. It's very expensive to print money. Very, very expensive. It is the best way, but is it, for our size, is it the most efficient way? Depending on what is there, and the central bank, they do monitoring very closely. When there is a need to really print new money, they always do it. But it's not like you just go, and it's very expensive, Honorable Member, very expensive. But they will determine according to, they closely monitor and they study to see exactly what is happening in the market.
Honorable Member for Serakunda, supplement. Sorry, Woodley East.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it is my contention that this circulation of different notes could make it easier for counterfeiters to forge our currency, because counterfeiters now are very sophisticated. Don't you think it is important that this currency, one denomination, be circulated throughout is better than circulating 2 or 3 different types of notes in the country, to avoid this?
Honorable Member, I can assure you the futures that the central bank have put in our notes, the currencies, is well protected. The ideas that you have, yes, we will make sure we'll forward the ideas and look at it. But so far, up to today, what they are doing in terms of protecting to make sure. I think, fortunately for us, if we talk about counterfeiting, I don't think the rate in this country has that been that alarming. If at all it happens, it's at a very low level. And most of the time, it's arrested immediately.
Honorable Member for Serakunda.
Honorable Speaker, when the old notes or mutilated notes are retracted, what happens to them? And wouldn't the Honorable Minister see the possibility of another form of counterfeiting by the reintroduction of those old notes that should go out of circulation into circulation?
It's an operational issue, but valid question. I think the understanding is there is a modus operandi, standard operating procedure when you withdraw the old notes, how it is terminated to make sure it will not come back. But there is something that they have in their own manual ways of doing this. There is a manual that guides how the notes are being treated. Is there any need to adjust and adapt to new ways? Yes. I think these are issues that is confronting all central banks, and the central bank, I'm sure, they are taking a look at it. We will ask, but on a normal circumstance, the operational issues, because the permanent secretary is a member of the board, and these are issues that the board mostly they deal with it. But it's valid. It's a valid question.
Honorable Member for Woodley East. Was it you, sir? Sorry. Honorable Member for Woodley West, I'm sorry about that.
Thank you. Honorable Speaker, what is really responsible for the bad quality of our notes? Is it non-compatibility or is it because of the cost?
To tell you, I think the cost has a lot to do with it.
Pardon?
I think the cost has a lot to do with it.
Honorable Member for Sabak Sanjal.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, do the central bank have any time frame for the completion of this process, changing of these notes?
As far as I know, there is no time frame, but again, I will ask my permanent secretary, who is a board member, to update us on that. But as far as I know, there is no time frame.
Honorable nominated member, Ndeya Sinseka.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the minister in his statement, he was saying that the central bank is really trying by all means to make sure that all these things are printed. But still, we are seeing these old notes, which is not even good for so-called normal people, much more than persons with disabilities. So what mechanisms are put in place so that the central bank will make sure that all these notes will not be seen in the again?
I can assure you, as I said, it's cost-related, but I can assure you that the central bank will do everything possible, including being sensitive to the disabled, to make sure all of these things are factored in.
Honorable Member for Lower Nyomi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Did I hear the minister say the notes it's because of the quality, that's why they degenerate quickly?
I didn't say quality, I said cost.
Okay. What would you be doing to augment the?
Asking a question out of, anyway, that's Honorable Minister, that's okay. Then we move to Honorable Member for Banjul North.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, I think it has been very clear that we're telling you that the commercial banks, and you are aware of it, that commercial banks are really issuing dilapidated and mutilated notes. What would the ministry do in terms of enforcing that this practice stops? Because when you go to the banks now, they would just embed it in the stock. So what would you do to ensure that at least it is reduced?
Thank you. Honorable Member, there is a penalty that the central bank imposes on such things. And that if you're caught doing that, there is a penalty. If my memory serves me right, they can charge you all the way to $50,000. These are things that are in place, but it requires more monitoring, close monitoring on that.
Question number 219, 2019 by Honorable Member for Kiang East. Honorable Member for Kiang East.
Can I read on his behalf?
Did he authorize you?
Yes.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs inform this August Assembly why governments are forced to have vigorous insurance and yet fail to compensate when eventuality happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I wish to inform the Honorable Member for Kiang West that the vehicle insurance is mandatory. Kiang is that the vehicle insurance is mandatory as per insurance laws in the Gambia, and as such, all vehicle owners are required to insure their vehicles. Concerning refund or compensation, the same law guarantees compensation where appropriate, and victims are responsible for pursuing insurance companies to ensure compensations are made.
Any supplementary? Honorable Member for Lower Nyumi.
Honorable Minister, the pursuance of compensation is so slow, is so frustrating, that eventually you lose more than you would be even gaining if you would ever be gaining. Could there be something very stringent to make sure the companies are forced to compensate the individuals or the victims concerned? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Member, we are revisiting the Act, and the Commissioner of Insurance is aware. I think weekly, daily, he receives complaints, and he is also equally frustrated. So we will be coming up to see how stringent we will really do the enforcement. The Commissioner is closely monitoring that, and we'll make sure it's, you are right. But also, I think one of the things we should also bear in mind, the different categories. If you are doing like me, I always go for my private vehicles, third party, and you expect it to be treated like first class, that could be a difference. But I think most of it, when they go for comprehension, those ones, the refund is very fast. So is that fair? No. As long as you are contributing to the insurance, you should be equally treated. So we will be revisiting the Act to see that everybody is treated equal.
Sorry.
Honorable Member.
There is the West African ECOWAS.
It's only one you are entitled to. Honorable Member for Bakau.
Withdrawn. My issue have been addressed.
Taken care? No, somebody else behind there. Honorable Member for Sabah Sanjal.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, I think what you mentioned, the policy, is a key. Sorry, is key here, because different parties contract different mode of compensation. Would you mind to fast track the review of that policy so that it can accommodate the most vulnerable ones? Because the third party you're talking about, if you have a new vehicle, normally, if you register with that one, you will not have any compensation at the duration, looking at the condition of the vehicle. So I'm suggesting if the policy can be reviewed to cater for that type of compensation.
Are you asking or suggesting? Honorable Member, your supplementary question.
Yes, I'm asking whether he is thinking of reviewing that policy. Yes.
Yes, we are thinking of reviewing the policy, but we also want to make sure it's not one-sided. We are also consulting the West African Insurance Institute, also Gambia Insurance Association, but because it's two sides. Sometimes you can have a complaint or something that was manufactured. Though these are issues that they are also confronted. That's why the investigation and all of it will take time. But yes, we are reviewing it, but we also have taken note of that so that we can try to fast track the process.
Thank you. Question number 2. Oh, sorry. Honorable Member for, I said anybody who wants to, you raise your tag up. I don't see any name here. Honorable Member for Serakunda, I start with you. Okay. Honorable Member for Serakunda.
Honorable Speaker, since insurance is a form of investment and a basis of accumulation of wealth, isn't there a plan by government in assisting these companies to be able to reinvest the resources so that they will be able to meet all the claims that are being made against them? And failing to really build up capital, wouldn't that undermine the capacity to really pay claimants?
Yes, in the review that we are making, I think these are all issues that will definitely be factored in. I think insurance companies now, they've become so sophisticated. That's why even their services, they are now expanding it gradually. And we will encourage them. And we will try to see to it that the investments that they make in, my understanding, the last time I checked was that the capital requirement, they also allow them to be able to gain interest out of that instead of just putting the capital and just laying in the central bank. But now, in the review, we will factor all of these things, and because we know that the insurance has become much more important. We've seen the recent accident, the gas. We realized that the mandatory aspect of it, that was a major shortcomings on our side to make sure that products like that cannot be within. If it is even within an industrialized area, it must be insured, mandatory, and we make sure the premium paid is something that in the event of accident, they should be able to cover all the victims.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Woodley West. Oh, you did. Honorable Member for Busumbala.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, according to your response, you say insurance is mandatory in the Gambian law. And then when time for insurance, as people just suggested, is frustrating in the country, I know government is with the belief to make it mandatory for citizens to be compensated if eventually this happens. But this is a problem. Apart from compensation, when eventually it happens to victims, does the central government have any interest on people insuring their car? Do they also have any interest in the insurance that is being paid by citizens, or is only the citizens' compensation?
That's why we have the Commissioner of Insurance. And now there are options. You also have the Islamic insurance. Is it takaful? So these are all areas that with takaful, my understanding is that at the end of the year or after a year or two, they come back to the client and in fact, either in kind or cash, refund it in that sort of format. That's why the system, that's the way it is operating. But the Commissioner of Insurance responsibility, and I is doing a lot on that to monitor and listen to the clients as well as the insurance companies, what is happening in the market. So this review will factor all of these things.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Lower Newmi.
Thank you very much. I think the ECOWAS brown card insurance caters for insurance much more than even the third-party vehicles, because even with that, the ECOWAS brown card insurance pays. In the revision you're thinking of, why couldn't we go to that level where victims would be paid? I am still insisting on that because I see the losses, I see the mishap, and I also see the sufferings of people that go through these things. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Concerns well noted.
Honorable Member for Woodley East.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And we move to question number 220, 2019, by the Deputy Speaker. I authorize Honorable Seni Toure, Member for Jara East, to read my question. Honorable Toure.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, can the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs tell this August Assembly the position of the Gambia government with regards to the two aircrafts grounded at the Banjul International Airport for almost 3 years now? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I want to inform the Deputy Speaker that the two airplanes that has already been sold to the tune of $240,000 US in May 2018. Moreover, another 3 scrap airplanes were also sold for $500,000 sometimes in 2019.
Any supplementary? Any supplementary from any Honorable Member for Lower Newmi?
Honorable Minister, under what condition are they sold? Scrap or?
Scrap the other 3 because you cannot fly them. They are all in very bad shape. That's what I said, scrap. The machines are not working, nothing is working.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Woodley West.
Honorable Speaker, were these personal properties of the former president, or did they belong to the country?
My understanding was that it belongs to the state, not a personal property.
Honorable Member for Serakunda.
Honorable Speaker, would the Honorable Minister undertake to give us the details of these aircraft, their specifications and the sale? That's the question.
Sure. Just to take you through what we've been through, the valuation everything was guided by the civil aviation through the Minister of Works and Transport, just to make sure that whatever we are selling is not something that overnight is something you will see. But these are all aircraft. But I will make an undertaking that by next week, we should be able to submit to the clerk the entire information detailing out how it was sold and the price and everything. And even the payment will be able to confirm attach those receipts.
Woodley East.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, are there any other aircraft grounded at that airport? Old or new? Are there any other extra, which is different from the ones that you just sold?
As far as I'm concerned, those are the only ones that are there. We will, in the process of getting information on this, the details of the soil of the other aircraft, we will also ask. But what we have seen with the visible eyes, those are the only ones that are there.
Honorable Member for Jara Central.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, in your response, you did mention that the other two planes, airplanes, were sold at a tune of $240,000 US dollars, and the other three were sold at the other scrap were sold at a price of $500,000 US dollars. Can you explain to this August Assembly why the three scrap are more expensive than the other two? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Member, the two are very small aircrafts, agricultural. They are just for spraying. That's the difference. They are very small aircraft that they use to spray agriculture, maybe some insecticides and all of those things. But the other three, they are bigger, and the scrap, sometimes the value, originally, I understand the value we were getting were very low, and that was among other reasons that there was a minimum that the civil aviation advised. And that's why it delayed, but now all is sold.
Honorable Member for Lower Salum.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, my question is whether the government is in a position to replace a new aircraft for selling this to the tune of 740 million. To replace it, yes.
No, we are not thinking about it. We are leaving all those things with the private sector.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Ilyasa, you are the last of mine.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, can you tell us whom this aircraft was sold to?
I think the details that we will be providing next week will answer all those questions.
(221), 2019 by the Honorable Member for Brikama North.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I think this question too had been overtaken by events, but nonetheless, for clarity purpose, I can go ahead to read. Honorable Speaker, the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority, PURA, had issued a notice that effective 10 June 2019, the government of the Gambia will introduce new levy for the sport development on the telecommunications, and the levy will be charged as follows: 0.02 US dollar, that is 2 cents per minute, on all international incoming calls into the country, and 50 bottles per minute on all local calls, charge a levy of 1% on airtime purchase. If so, can the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs inform this August Assembly the total amount raised since the introduction of the levy, and whether the fund generated from the said levy will be judicially utilized for only sport development and how it is managed?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Member, since the introduction of the new sports levy, a total of $43.6 million has been collected and allocated to the Ministry of Youth and Sports. On the usage of funds, kindly refer this part to the relevant ministry, because we just allocate and it's under the custody of the Accountant General, and based on the request and how they use it, that is directly with them.
Supplementary, Honorable Member for Brikama.
As I said, it was overtaken by events, and the information given was the levy was supposed to be introduced since 10th June 2019. I could recall during the debate on the budget, this was not the case. And I would believe that the introduction did not start at that time. But when actually was the levy introduced?
Thank you very much. I think that was among the reasons I said categorically, very clear, it has to be approved by the National Assembly for it to be effective. That time, it was not. That's why it delayed all the way to December to make sure that we go through the proper procedure. So actually, in terms of effectiveness, it's definitely in January 1st.
Thank you.
Furthermore, is there any policy framework in place for the management and utilization of the fund?
Yes. We have just concluded a study making a comparison between the Social Development Fund and NEDI, and that we can share with you that the study. This is just to make sure, because this is about the future, and you're talking about millions of dollars. The Accountant General is the custodian, but the modalities of how you use it and how it is distributed to make sure that everybody, it's not only the Youth and Sports Ministry. You can have other private sector that do have very good youth programs that can also submit their project for appraisal, and if they are qualified, the Ministry of Youth will take the lead. But that doesn't mean that we give them a blank check. That is why we are now thinking we have to make a decision. Is it Social Development Fund or NEDI? And we have about a week ago that the study has just been completed, because we realize that it cannot just be under the custody of the Accountant General, where the Ministry of Youth will just be issuing checks. That's why it must be properly programmed to make sure that whatever request they are making is justified, and there is a body comprising of the Youth Ministry and also the Ministry of Finance, and whoever is going to manage it will be part of this committee in terms of the project selection.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Woodley East.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. Just for clarity, Honorable Minister, this $43.6 million that is allocated to the Youth Ministry, I just want to know whether it is inclusive in the budget appropriated here, or is it allocated for a specific purpose? It's a specific allocation for specific purpose. That's what I want to know.
No, when the pronouncement was made, that was why it's not in the budget, but that's why Jamina Honorable Member from Jamina is not here. That's why we make sure that it is not something you just come and spend, because it's not in the budget. That's why we have either the NEDI or the Social Development Fund will manage it. And that this will subject to National Assembly reporting to make sure that the FPAC will come in and ask, how did you manage these funds? That's where the accountability aspect will come in.
Thank you. We now move to question number 044-2020 by the Honorable Member for Opasalu.
Thank you. Honorable Speaker, would the Honorable Minister for Finance and Economic Affairs inform this August Assembly the companies that have public-private partnerships, PPP, agreements with the government of the Gambia, the signatories to these agreements, and what legal framework does the Directorate rely on to promote PPP in the country?
Thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Member, the legal framework used by the Directorate of Public-Private Partnership in promoting PPP in the Gambia are as follows. Public-Private Partnership 2015 and the Public-Private Partnership Operational Guidelines 2015. In addition to the above, the Ministry is currently drafting a PPP bill. Just for your information, I'm about to go to Cabinet before coming to the National Assembly for the proper approval. It's very infant. The industry is at a very young stage. And so far, we have 8. What we will be doing in the next 6 months or so is to have a grading to see, since it was signed, what has happened. Some of them are working, some of them are not working, and then we will have to make a decision.
Honorable Member for Upper Salon, supplementary.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Would the Honorable Minister confirm whether the Ministry of Justice is involved in the drafting of these contracts relating to PPP?
Yes, they cannot sign anything without the legal opinion. None of the PPP contracts can be signed without the legal opinion. As far as the Ministry of Finance is concerned, we always make sure that the legal opinion is secured.
No other supplementary. We move to.
Yes, I have.
Oh, second supplementary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, the second question, perhaps maybe if the minister doesn't have it now, maybe you can provide later. I would like to really see the economic benefits of this PPP in terms of what comes to the government of the Gambia and what goes to the other parties. So if you can provide that maybe in the future, maybe we'll be able to see really whether this PPP really makes sense or not. I really want to see the benefits to the government of the Gambia.
Okay. You are asking for the actual contracts, or you want us to do an analysis? Analysis, okay. All right. We can provide it next week.
Honorable Member for Serakunda.
Honorable Speaker, taking into consideration that any agreement that is made by these companies, if not properly crafted, could lead to international arbitration that can cause real losses to government. Is it not prudent and maybe even mandatory to ensure that these agreements are brought to the National Assembly for solemnization of some sort?
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Member, one thing that I can agree is if it is a select committee, because here we're talking about fast, we're talking about responsiveness. If we're talking about a select committee that we can consult and inform and negotiate, yes. But the main plenary, I'm talking about now, if it's all of competition. If an investor is here and one would like to do PPP and we are telling the investor, okay, the next parliament, the next National Assembly sitting in the next 6 months. And it is a product that if it is not executed within certain time, the product cycle not only has disappeared, but that technology will become obsolete. So this is just to highlight that if at all these things will be coming to the National Assembly, it will be delayed. But we don't mind if the select committee responsible for that specific sector really for us to present, or maybe we can agree that FPAC will be the select committee that we can deal with. But to be coming for the National Assembly, the bill that will be coming to you I think most of these requirements we can put in place. But to be coming to the National Assembly for every agreement, honorable member, that I will appeal for us to avoid that. We can go for the select committee, but to come to the National Assembly main plenary to seek approval, that can be problematic and it will affect. Right now, we are trying to improve the ratings on ways of doing business in the Gambia. And if we institute such action, maybe it will be another bottleneck, that most of the bottlenecks that we are bureaucracy, we are trying to remove. So in the spirit of that, I will appeal, if we don't mind, to consult the National Assembly, but let it be at a select committee that we can negotiate to meet, even if it is on a weekend. But really, in terms of doing business in Gambia, our rating so far has been way down, and we're working very hard to make sure we upgrade and uplift our standing. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Sabak Sanjal.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Minister, the list you provided indicate that there are 8 private sectors that are partnering with the government. Now, is it that these are the only private sector that show interest, or why the list is so small?
The list is small because the scrutiny aspect of it. We have a long list of unsolicited. But what we are avoiding is sometimes they are just briefcase businesses that don't have any background in what they want to submit. So we do due diligence, we do a lot of work. The officials, they burn the midnight candle just to make sure that the ones these are not the perfect ones, I must admit, but so far, reasonably, we've been able to, negotiate with them. But in terms of how much request is a long list, but that is why we want to make sure we work slowly until we go through the bill. If we put everything and the bill is not there, we are putting the cart before the horse. We want to make sure the regulation, whatever is going to happen is well structured legally.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member for Banjul North.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the question is asking about legal framework, and it appears that there is no legal framework in place, but the intention is to come up with a bill. How are you going to ensure fast-tracking this? Well, otherwise, you are operating without any legal framework. That's important. So how far, and the year is coming to an end, how far are you going to expedite the process of having this bill, this law in place?
The bill is already done. It's at the cabinet subcommittee, and I think one of these days the new minister intends to chair that. And the cabinet paper is done. Everything is ready. If we will fast track it, we'll make sure at the next sitting September we'll be here.
Honorable Member for Woodley East.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm thinking that since you've already gone through this agreement, these contracts, this arrangement, without the involvement of the Select Committee, would you be willing to provide the Select Committee or the Assembly with this arrangement that you've already done?
Yes, we are willing to. We are willing to.